Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants will be on a listen-only mode. Today's conference is being recorded, and if you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I'd like to introduce Jewel Jordan. Ma'am, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the American Community Survey webinar. Today's webinar is focused on helping you prepare for the release of the 2014 to 2018 ACS 5-year data products. If you would like to access the slides to follow along or use as a reference after the webinar, they are posted on the ACS webpage and the URL is available on the screen. Before I proceed, I would like to say a special thank you to our American Community Survey respondents for their participation in the survey. Without them, we would not have these data, which are so important for America's communities. Good afternoon again, and welcome to the pre-release webinar for the 2014 to 2018 American Community Survey 5-year estimate. This is Jewel Jordan, Public Affairs Specialist with the Census Bureau's Public Information Office. This webinar is designed to help you prepare for the release of the 2018 ACS 5-year data products. Our presenter is Gretchen Gooding. She's the Chief of the Outreach and Education Branch with the American Community Survey Office. At the end of this presentation, we'll open up the lines for questions. After a brief question period, Tyson Weister will do a demonstration of our newest data tool, data.census.gov. Tyson is a program analyst in the Center for Enterprise Dissemination. There will be an opportunity for news media and others to ask questions after his demonstration. Here's an overview of what we're planning to cover today. First, I'll talk about next week's American Community Survey data release and our upcoming releases in 2020. Then I will turn it over to Gretchen, and she will give a brief overview of the American Community Survey and cover the changes from last year. She will walk through various tools used to access our products and where we can find much of the information covered in today's webinar on our website. After a question and answer session, Tyson will give a quick walkthrough of how to access block group level data and our new data dissemination tool, data.census.gov. Please note that for the question and answer session, we will give first priority for questions to journalists on the line who are preparing news stories for the release. We would ask that others who have questions hold those until the second round of Q&A, which will follow the data.census.gov block group demo. Next Tuesday, the 2014 to 2018 ACS 5-year data will be available for early access embargo and publicly released next Thursday. These estimates cover the 2014 through 2018 time period for all geographic areas regardless of population size. Our media embargo will be available Tuesday, December 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also available through our embargo site for approved media will be products on data.census.gov. Our public release will be Thursday, December 19th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We originally planned the release of some of our data products on December 19th, with the remaining products including comparison profiles, subject tables, and narrative profiles on January 16th. We are pleased to inform you that all 5-year data products will now be available on the 19th. This also includes our narrative profile available through the ACS website, and existing tools that will be refreshed with 5-year data such as the API, QuickFacts, and My Tribal Area. Specific for this 5-year release, we have products that highlight a few of the more than 40 social, economic, housing, and demographic topics, including computer and internet use, commuting, income, poverty, gross rent, and language characteristics. With a focus on comparison of non-overlapping years, such as 2009 to 2013 and 2014 to 2018, topics to include income, poverty, and labor force participation rates for the 65 and older population. To highlight 5-year trends, we will have several interactive visualization tools that will show the data at the county level. Please note, the visualization on screen is from the 2018 1-year ACS release since we cannot show 5-year data yet. Although the focus of the webinar is our 5-year release, I wanted to take the opportunity to promote several products that will be coming out soon that are also part of the data release season. The 2014 to 2018 ACS 5-year Public Use Microdata Sample, or PUMS, and Variance Replicate Estimate tables will be available on January 30th, 2020. Both of these products are for very experienced data users. The ACS PUMS files are a set of untabulated records about the individual people or housing units that are created for public use microdata areas, or PUMAs, which contain at least 100,000 people. These files allow data users to create custom tables that are not available through pre-tabulated ACS data products. The variance replicate estimate tables allow data users to calculate margins of error, which include the covariance term when combining ACS estimates within a table or between geographies. Finally, we'll wrap up the 2019 data release season with the 2018 ACS 1-year supplemental estimates released on February 6, 2020. The supplemental estimates are simplified versions of popular ACS tables for geographic areas with at least 20,000 people. Now let me turn it over to Gretchen.
All right, thank you, Jewel. For those of you who aren't familiar with our survey, here's some basic information about the American Community Survey. The American Community Survey is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics. The survey samples approximately 3.5 million addresses. These data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates. The ACS is also used to distribute more than $675 billion of federal government spending each year. Our estimates, covering more than 40 topics, support more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. Businesses and communities use these 11 billion estimates each year to make vital decisions, including where to locate hospitals and schools, what transportation needs exist, and what goods and services business should provide to customers. We release 3 different sets of estimates each year in the form of 1-year estimates for areas with a population of at least 65,000 people, 1-year supplemental estimates for areas with a population of at least 20,000 people, and 5-year estimates, the focus of this webinar, for all areas and small population groups. The content collected by the American Community Survey can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics: social, economic, housing, and demographic. Let's take a closer look at the type of information each of these categories contain. Social characteristics include topics such as disability status, education, language spoken at home, and more. The ACS also collects basic demographic characteristics such as sex, age, race, and Hispanic origin. Economic characteristics include topics such as commuting to work, employment status, income, and more. Housing characteristics include topics like computer and internet use, housing costs, vehicles available, and others. These topics are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities each year, and they power countless news stories each day. I want to highlight a couple of articles I found recently using ACS data. Boise State Public Radio in Idaho highlighted a report about parts of the country that don't have access to basic services such as running water. The report used data from the ACS questions on plumbing facilities in this work. Another example, the Daily Advertiser in Lafayette, Louisiana highlighted the growth of the area's senior care industry and used ACS data on age in their article. A special thanks to our media partners for powering their stories with ACS data. In addition to the 40-plus topics we cover, another strength of the ACS is the number of geographies available, all the way from the nation to your community. The ACS provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. The 5-year data release includes all geographic areas down to the tract and block group level, over 579,000 geographic areas, and 87 different summary levels. Unlike the 1-year ACS release, geographies do not have to meet a particular population threshold in order to be published. So for this release, the geographies include the nation, all states, District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, all metropolitan areas, all congressional districts, all counties and places, and all tracts and block groups. Block groups are the smallest level of geography produced by the ACS. Now I'm going to cover some guidance specifically for this 5-year release. It's important to understand the concept of a period estimate because all ACS estimates are period estimates. Period estimates describe characteristics of an area over a specific time period, not a single point in time, as is the case with the decennial census. In the case of ACS one-year estimates, the period is 12 months. The estimates for the 5-year release describe the population and housing characteristics from January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2018. 5-year estimates are not an average of 1-year ACS estimates. The ACS survey data are pooled together across 60 months for the 5-year data. After the data are pooled together, they're updated with the geographic boundaries of the last year of the period, in our case 2018, and then assigned the appropriate weights to produce population and housing estimates. Weights are adjusted using the population and housing totals controlled for age, sex, race, and Hispanic origin, which are derived from our population estimates program. Finally, income and dollar estimates are adjusted for inflation based on the most recent year of the period. The latest 5-year estimates are adjusted to 2018 dollars. So as you've seen, you use 5-year estimates when no 1-year or 1-year supplemental estimates available. Unless the geographic area has a population greater than or equal to 65,000, or there's a supplemental table available for these populations 20,000 or more, geography will rely on 5-year estimates. Second, in general, you'll want to use 5-year estimates when the margin of error for the annual estimates is larger than desired. A margin of error is a measure of sampling variability, which are presented next to all ACS estimates. For example, 5-year estimates are helpful when analyzing small population groups because of the higher margins of error associated with them. Also, if you're comparing several geographies and one or more of those geographies do not receive 1-year estimates due to population size, you'll have to use the 5-year estimates. If you're interested in comparing 5-year data, we encourage you to make comparisons only with non-overlapping data. This year, you can compare the 2014 to 18 5-year data with the 2009 to 13 5-year data. These non-overlapping data sets allow comparison of unique data with unique data. So, only compare estimates of the same data set. For example, compare 1 year with 1 year and 5-year with 5-year. Users should not compare 1-year estimates with 5-year estimates. 5-year estimates are helpful when you compare across geographies because all geographies are represented in the 5-year as opposed to the 1 year where not all geographies make the threshold. For example, all counties are available in the 5-year estimates regardless of population size. Similarly, 5-year estimates are also great for making comparisons across subpopulations like ancestry and language groups. Finally, when making comparisons, percent estimates are often more reliable than count estimates they're based on. When a population estimate program estimate exists, such as the total population or number of females in a county, the pop estimates program is the official value and is preferred. However, ACS count estimates may always be compared if the need of the data user requires it. So those are the basics of our survey. Now let's talk about what's been updated for this release. Before we discuss specific changes to data products, data users should note 2 significant changes in methodology for industry and occupation as well as poverty statistics. These changes were driving factors for most of the major data product changes this year. First, the Census Occupation and Industry Code List have been updated to reflect revisions to the NAICS, the North American Industrial Classification System, and the SOC, or Standard Occupational Classification System. The 2018 Census Occupation Code List includes 30 new occupation titles never published before. The 2018 tables have been updated to reflect these new codes. Data years prior to 2018 may not be directly comparable due to the code changes. Therefore, data users should use extreme caution when comparing 2018 data to data years prior. Second, there was a change in the way the income deficit was calculated that resulted in changes to 4 tables. Prior to 2018, the aggregate income deficit amounts and mean income deficit amounts were in rotating reference period dollar amounts as reported. However, income data in ACS tables are adjusted to current year dollars using the CPI-URS adjustment factors. Starting in 2018, both aggregate income deficit, dollar amounts, and mean income deficit in 2 detail tables and 2 subject tables have been similarly adjusted to respective calendar years. That is, inflation adjusted to the year the data were collected. This year we have 9 new tables covering industry and occupation, income and earnings, and the citizen voting age population. For industry and occupation, for the first time this year, data users can access detailed occupation for the civilian employed population that includes both full-time and part-time workers. Previously, our tables only showed detailed occupation for full-time year-round workers. These tables are available at the national level only. For income and earnings, we have a new table, E19123, that shows family size with the receipt of cash public assistance or SNAP. And for citizen voting age population, this is the first time that 5-year estimates are available for the citizen voting age population since the data were tabulated, since the first time the data were tabulated for this topic in 2014. As a result, we have 4 new detailed tables and 1 subject table showing data for the citizen voting age population by various characteristics such as age, educational attainment, poverty status, and median household income. If you're interested in viewing the table shelves for these new tables, please use the web address at the bottom of the slide. Most of the table modifications this year were related to updated codes for industry and occupation, as well as a change in the way income deficit was calculated. I'm not going to go over the tables that changed here, but there are bonus slides available on the online version of this presentation where we list the table IDs for these modified tables. In addition, you can read about the 5-year data changes, or table changes, on our website starting Thursday. The URL is on the screen, and again, the page is going to go live on December 12th. So if you've downloaded our slides, you'll see that 18 through 23 I'm not going to cover in the webinar, but they are available and they show all the table modifications. So here they are. Oops. I will mention a few other table modifications to detailed tables and subject tables that cover a variety of topics listed here. This table summarizes the primary changes to these topics. For example, categories for year of naturalization were updated in one of the foreign-born tables, and categories for year moved in were updated in multiple housing tables. There are also modifications to data profiles and comparison profiles, including updating census industry and occupation codes, adding more estimates for educational attainment, and updating categories for year moved in. As I mentioned earlier, the link at the bottom of the slide provides more information about all these table changes. Now let's talk about what data products are available and how to access this new 5-year data. This release consists of the following data products located in data.census.gov. The number in parentheses is the number of products available for this release. We have 5 data profiles that show select estimates and percentages for particular geographies on a variety of topics in one table. There are profiles for social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics, as well as selected social characteristics in Puerto Rico. Comparison profiles are similar to data profiles, but they show data side by side from 2 different 5-year periods, indicating where there is a statistically significant difference between the 2 sets of estimates. Subject tables, we have 83, contain estimates and percentages with detailed information by topic. We have over 1,000 detailed tables. They contain the estimate and margins of error only, organized by topic, are the most detailed tables in the product package. Other products reside on different sites and will be available on December 19th, including our narrative profiles and other data tools like the Census API, Quick Facts, My Tribal Area, and Census Business Builder. Census Business Builder will be refreshed with the new data in early January. Data.census.gov is a new platform to access data from the Census Bureau. American Fact Finder will not host any of the 2018 ACS data releases. Again, let me just say this. American Fact Finder will not host any of the 2018 ACS data releases. At the end of this webinar, Tyson will demonstrate how to access block group data using data.census.gov. You can also check out the link at the bottom of the screen for data.census.gov resources such as FAQs, data gen videos, flyers, and more. We've also talked about the 5-year summary file being available next week during our embargo period. This product is intended for advanced users and includes all the estimates and margins of errors from the detailed tables and geographies that are published for the ACS in a downloadable format. You can access the data as well as supporting documentation by visiting our website. If you're trying to access the summary file during the embargo period, you'll need to access it through the press kit. Now for products that will be available on release day. Again, this is December 19th. The 5-year narrative profile is one of our more popular products. It's not available in American Fact Finder or data.census.gov, but it is available on the ACS website. This product is a pre-generated report that describes a geographic area by providing text and graphics for about 15 different ACS topic areas. Users can choose to produce a report on all 15 topics or just a subset for selected geographies. These reports help novice users to interpret the data. API, which stands for the Application Programming Interface, is a tool for collecting the data and variables you need in raw format from the Census Bureau's ever-increasing pool of data sets. It's a tool that presents data in a standardized way. By standardizing the API query language across multiple data sets, the learning curve for developers is reduced. Researchers and developers from both inside and outside the census use the API because of its simple format. It provides greater ease for inputting, presenting, and manipulating data in whatever format you choose. With the API, you can select any variable in multiple data sets and place them in raw format or the format of your choice. The API includes many Census Bureau data sets, including our ACS 1-year and 5-year, as well as the ACS migration flow and supplemental data. If you're interested in learning more about this tool, you can view the webinar using the Census API with ACS from this past June on our website. As I've mentioned, several of our data tools will also be refreshed with our new 5-year data. QuickFacts in My Tribal Area are planned to be updated with the data on December 19th. QuickFacts is an easy-to-use application that shows table maps and charts of our most frequently requested information for more than 10 census surveys and programs. My Tribal Area is very similar to the look and feel of my congressional district, but this gives 5-year characteristic estimates for tribal areas by geography. And again in January, we'll have our new data refreshed for Census Business Builder. Census Business Builder is a mapping tool geared towards users needing help to start or grow a business or to better understand an area's regional business landscape. There are 2 editions of Census Business Builder, Small Business Edition and Regional Analyst Edition. All right, so now that we've discussed products for this release and where you can find them, I'll show you where you can find helpful documentation about the ACS on our website. So this is the best place to find information from the ACS. It's our website at census.gov/ACS. The tabs on the left help guide you to what you need, including news and updates, data, guidance for data users, technical documentation, and more. I want to highlight a couple of useful pages for data release. Information for the 2018 data release is under News and Updates. This section gives you a variety of information specific for this release all in one place, such as the release schedule and table changes we just discussed. It also recaps what's new and notable for each release. We're in the process of updating our handbooks for data users. Each of these handbook PDFs helps particular groups with specific how-to instructions or case studies. We also have a number of training presentations with recording slides and transcripts covering a variety of topics, such as using the API or Introduction to the ACS. We are working on an updated handbook for journalists, and we hope that that will be released soon. But you can see on the slide which handbooks have been recently updated, including our Handbook for All Data Users, American Indian and Alaska Native Data Users, Summary File, Rural, State and Local Government, and Business. This is our technical documentation page. In the left nav bar, there's a list of important documents that will help you better understand the ACS data, including code lists, definitions, and accuracy. This page contains detailed codes and definitions for variables, statistical testing, and an explanation of sample design, methodology, and accuracy. Table and geography changes. This page covers changes to the table and geography for each data release. Table shells and table lists. So here's where you can view a layout of ACS tables that aren't filled in with the estimates and margin of error, as well as a list containing information about each table, such as ID, title, universe, and availability in 1 and 5 year. Since ACS questions and content can change over time, if you're interested in making comparisons, please refer to the comparison guidance documentation on our website. Comparisons over time become tricky because of questionnaire changes and different universe definitions. When trying to make comparisons, it's important to reference this documentation first to make sure the data you're interested in should be compared. It's suggested. Please note that the screenshot is using the 2017 page, but it will be in a similar location for 2018. All right. And on that note, when you're writing your stories and making comparisons between years or between geographies, we always want you to make certain that the estimates are statistically different from one another. We introduced our statistical testing tool to help you out. The tool is located under Guidance for Data Users, then Statistical Testing Tool. Now I'll turn it over to Jewel for the first round of questions.
All right, thank you so much, Gretchen. Before we take questions, I want to let you know that today's presentation will be available very shortly through the Press Kit section of the newsroom on census.gov. An archived version of this webinar will also be posted within the next few days. Now we're going to pause and take questions before we move on to our next topic on how to access Black group data on data.census.gov. First, we will take calls from media. We ask that you state your name and media affiliation when you ask a question. We want to give all media an opportunity to ask a question. Therefore, we will allow one question with one follow-up. And with that, operator, let's open up the lines and take some questions.
One moment, please, for the first question.
While we wait for questions, we invite you to stay in touch by telling us how you use data from the American Community Survey. For example, have you or your organization used the ACS to make an important decision, help your community, or expand a business? Please visit the link at the bottom to share your story and explore how data enthusiasts across the country are using ACS data in creative ways. We also want to let you know about the ACS Data Users Group. The ACS Data Users Group is a great way to learn from your peers about how to use ACS data for all kinds of applications. Membership is free and open to all interested data users. There are currently more than 2,400 group members. You can learn more about the group at acsdatacommunity.prb.org, or you can reference the link on the screen. At this time, operator, do we have any questions?
Our first question is from Lucy May. Please state your organization.
Hi, I'm with WCPO in Cincinnati, Ohio. And my question is, with the changes that have been made to the poverty data, is it possible to meaningfully compare these 5-year estimates to the 5-year estimates between 2009 and 2013 for different geographic areas?
For that question, I'll hand it over to Ashley Edwards.
Yes, thanks for the question. I'm Chief of the Poverty Statistics Branch. Effectively, what we're doing is just changing the inflation rate. So the likely impact that you'll see is that if you had done this change on previously released 5-year files, the mean deficits would be about 1% higher. So it's not a hugely meaningful difference, but it is helpful just to have all the dollar values in the same inflation series across all of our tables. But that's about the magnitude of the difference you'd be seeing.
Okay, so it is still possible to, I mean, you can still meaningfully make the comparison. You'll just see that minor difference.
Yes, I mean, like anything, you know, dollar values that are released in the previous 5-year table are inflation adjusted to that 5-year reference period. So either way, you'd want to inflation adjust them to compare to this 5-year period. So just keep that in mind when you're making the adjustment.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you. Our next question is from Steve Straley, the Villages of Daily Sun.
Hi, this is Steve. This is kind of a technical question. We ran into this last time with the new data.census.gov stuff. We like to compare our MSA against other MSAs, and you could, in the old, much beloved Fact Finder, you could download all, you could select all the MSAs. And then when we started using the data.census.gov, you could not, there was a drop down, but you would have to manually select all the however many MSAs. You couldn't just say select all. And I was told that was going to be fixed, and I wondered if it is fixed for this.
I thank you for your question. My name is Tyson. I work on the communications team for data.census.gov. That is actually a feature that we rolled out in October, so you can currently go on to data.census.gov, and there's a checkbox once you select that you want data at the metro area level. You'll see that checkbox right up at the top that allows you to select all metro areas in a single click, and we're continuing to add more based on user feedback.
Great. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from John Dusniski from Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hi, I have a question as if you can give recommendations of what would be the best tables to show differences in income inequality over time. And I know you have Gini Index, which is there, but I was wondering if there's might be something that you could recommend that might be more accessible to the general public.
This is Ashley Edwards, representing the income and poverty area. Certainly the Gini Index is a useful metric because it doesn't have to be adjusted over years. You can also look at percentile distributions over time. The most important thing is to keep in mind, inflation adjustment, as you're looking back historically. But certainly if there's something specific you're looking for, you can give us a call and we can point you to some specific tables offline.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And thank you. At this time, I'm seeing no further questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, now we'll turn the presentation over to Tyson Weister. Tyson will show a quick demonstration on accessing the block group data using data.census.gov.
Great, thanks, Jewel, and thank you all for sticking around for the demo of data.census.gov. Before we jump right in, I just wanted to give a little bit of background information. Hopefully you've taken time to explore the site already, but just in case, just wanting to set a little bit of context information for those of you who may be new as to why we're going about this change. The vision for data.census.gov is driven by a model that wasn't serving our data users well. And you see that illustrated here on the upper right side of the screen, where you see the Census Bureau collects, process, edit, and reviews quality information. Previously, we had been disseminating that across lots of different websites that you as a user had to know to go to outside of census.gov. And you also had to spend time to learn each individual tool in order to get the end result census data that you were looking for. With this model, over the years, we've got a lot of feedback that we need to simplify things and make it easier for our data users. So that's where we're headed. The long-term vision for data.census.gov is where we continue to collect, process, edit, and review quality information, disseminate it one time through the Census Bureau application programming interface, and feed that to you in a nice user display on data.census.gov so you can access the information in one place. Benefits of that being listed on the upper left. We want to streamline your access so you spend less time searching for data and more time using it. This model also helps us maintain the best functionality of our tools. When we find something that works well, like mapping, we can develop those features one time and apply it across all of the Census Bureau's data in one platform, which helps us reduce our redundancies and operational costs as well. In terms of the timeline, we are continuing to migrate information from American Fact Finder to data.census.gov. There have been no new releases on American Fact Finder since June of 2019. However, you have been able to access the historical information on that tool, and you'll be able to continue to access that until spring of 2020. But do keep in mind that we're continuing to migrate those additional tables that you may not see today on data.census.gov over to the new site. And then moving forward, we had our first major releases on the platform. In September, you had the 2017 Economic Census as well as the 2018 American Community Survey one-year estimates. moving forward, the ACS 5-year release that's happening next week will also be on the platform as well, and not on American Fact Finder. So with that, we wanted to take a moment to go ahead and show you some live demonstration. Just a couple of notes, of course. We have the slides available, and they do walk step by step through each of the items that I'll be demonstrating today, as well as lots of resources to learn more about the site beyond what I can showcase in the next 10 minutes or so. And then just to show you all how seamless the transition is going to be, we're going to show you the same functionality that we showed you last year in this webinar on American Fact Finder, but using the new resources. So that functionality was to how to find the block group associated with a particular address, and then how to download data for a collection of geography on the site. But before we get to the live demo, just really quickly, for those of you who may be new to some of the census terminology and may be wondering, well, what is a block group? They are the lowest level of geography that you can get from the American Community Survey. They generally have between 600 and 3,000 people, and they're statistical divisions of census tracts. So what you see here on the slide, on the left-hand side is a map of a census tract in Los Angeles County, and that census tract has 3 different individual block groups that fit neatly within the census tract boundaries. So the right map shows you the block group 1 within that census tract, and on the right-hand side also helps show you from a data standpoint that the population totals from each of the 3 block groups totals to the population of that particular census tract. So let's go ahead and move over to our live demonstration. First thing, we wanted to show you how to access data for a particular address and find the census geography that's associated with the address. My favorite tool to access that information is actually through the Census Bureau's geocoder. We wanted to show it to you really quick because it gives you the information you need to get that data on data.census.gov. So through the Census geocoder, what you want to do when you get to this main screen on the landing page, on the left-hand side, the Find Geographies Using option, click where it says Address. From here, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to pull up data for 2300 Empire Avenue in Burbank, California. So that is the location for our Census Bureau regional office in Los Angeles, 91504. And then I keep these 2 drop-down menus at the default to find the most recent vintages and go ahead and click Find. So here it shows us that we've input a particular address and it's matched it with an address that the system recognizes. And as I scroll down, it gives me by default the census geographies associated for this address, the census block, the state, the county, and the census tract. But we actually wanted the block group. You can easily get that information by editing the URL. So clicking into the URL, I'm going to go ahead and at the end type ampersand layers equals, and then just put in the codes associated with the geographic areas that I want to get this data for. Those codes are 8, 10, and 86, and then press enter to update our results. Those codes, you can find them on the URL that I've included in the slides where it shows the name of the geography and the code associated with it. So here we can see our results for exactly what we specified. So under the label for census block groups, you just look under the section that says name, and we see this address is part of block group 1 in Los Angeles County, and it's part of census tract 3105.01. With that information, moving back to data.census.gov, you can select that geography on the site to get all of the statistics for the release of the American Community Survey 5-year estimate. Here I'm going to walk through how to pull data at the census tract level, but we're actually going to pull up data for a collection of census tracts to get data for all of the census tracts in Los Angeles County. The steps to go about doing that is kind of these 3 easy steps. You want to find your table that you're interested in, then add your geography last, and download the data. I'm going to walk through that. In order to find my table, there's multiple ways you can go about navigating the site. I'm going to choose to go through the advanced search pathway for this demonstration, but you can use whatever works best for you. And then we go ahead and start selecting some filters of what's of interest to us. So for me, some things I like to do, if I know I want data at the block group level, I like to click on the left-hand side where it says Surveys, and then click the checkbox for the ACS 5-year estimates detailed tables. Those are the set of tables that are compatible with the block group level data from the American Community Survey. I'll also click on the left-hand side where it says Years to narrow my results to the most recent available year. For this demonstration on the public site, of course, it's the 2017 data. And then I'll go ahead and specify a topic. So clicking Topics on the left-hand side, notice as I'm working through these panels, sometimes there are checkboxes next to words and phrases. That means it's a final selection. That's adding it to your selected filters at the bottom of the screen when you check it. Any word or phrase without a checkbox is going to provide you a panel on the right-hand side that has more detailed options to choose from. So within Topics, I'm going to go ahead and pull up age and sex data. That's categorized under populations and people. And we see where the checkbox for age and sex is listed next to the word or phrase. So I click that checkbox and I know it's a final selection. That's added it to the bottom of my selected filters. So here I have my topic, year, and type of table. Once I'm happy with the selected filters at the bottom, I click Search in the lower right and start browsing all of the available data. I like to click in the upper left, right where it says Tables. Here we can see on the left-hand side there are 317 different table results that are compatible with the filters I selected. I have the option here to scroll through the list, click between different table titles to see what type of data that has. For this demonstration, we'll pull up the download for B01001. So the last thing I need to do now is add in my geography. You can do that on the table results page here on the left-hand side where it says Filter, and then go through the prompts to select our geographic area. So here we click Geography, Tract, California, Los Angeles County, California. And here we start seeing options to select individual tracts or that checkbox at the top that allows us to select the collection of all of the census tracts within Los Angeles County, California. Once I check the box, scroll to the bottom and verify it's in our selections, the last thing to do is click in the upper right the chevron where it says Hide to minimize this from our panel. So as we made this selection, the table was updating in the background. In this case, if you select too many geographies and the table's too large, you'll get a message that it's too big to display on the site, but you get a nice option presented right there in your face to download the table. So here we go ahead and click the Download Table button, verify the year selected, the 2017 ACS 5-year estimate, and then go ahead and click Download and follow the prompts. As it loads up to 100%, it will change and say Download Now. And we recommend using Google Chrome when you're on data.census.gov, but the pathway to open up the zip file will depend on what browser you're using. Chrome generally gives you better results and quicker performance on data.census.gov. In the lower left, I'm going to go ahead and click that zip file to start opening the set of attachments. I'll choose that I don't want to unzip the file, and then here we get our results. There are 3 different files. Generally, the one you want is the first option that has data with overlays in the naming convention. And this pulls up our results. So we'll zoom in a little bit so you all can see better what you're getting through here. Very similar to the results you would have received in this download on American Fact Finder. This particular file is a file where each geography is its own row, and the estimates are displayed across the row that you saw in the nice table display on data.census.gov. Here it's in a format with just the data, no special indentation or formatting. It's a really great format and file option for you if you want to work with the data. Maybe you want to manipulate, sort, or map the information. And then how you read it is the first 2 rows provide the name from the variable of our application programming interface, or API, that B01001_001E, just means that it's the estimate from the first line of the table, and the corresponding label for that particular estimate is the total population. Let's swap back over to the slides here and just wrap up with some additional information about using data.census.gov. As you're working with large numbers of geographies, you may happen to come across the error message on the left-hand side where the download has failed. If you're persistently getting this error message, you may be hitting our download limit. So a couple of suggestions that we have for you. If you want to stay on the site for data.census.gov to download the data, we recommend trying the same download using fewer geographies at a time, fewer tables at a time, so using the option to download just one table at a time versus downloading multiple tables or years in a single zip file. And we also recommend using smaller tables. So if I was just interested in the data for median household income, I could get that data from B19013, which only has one estimate in that table, compared to the subject table, which has many estimates. In addition, there are no changes associated with the changing system from American Fact Finder to data.census.gov. For the FTP or the API, you can continue to download and access information in bulk through both of those sites. We talked a little bit earlier about collections of geographies. We recently released the functionality on data.census.gov to select these collections in a single click, as you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Some of the new ones we released in November were congressional districts by nation state, as well as the others you see on the slide. These are all based on user feedback, and we're working to add more based on your feedback. So in the meantime, you can continue to select that through the map, as well as download data in bulk through the FTP site or the API. But we really hope that you tell us what your feedback is and what collections or other functionality you'd like to see on the site, so we can continue to make it work better for you. The best way is to simply email us at cedsi.feedback@census.gov. And while today's demonstration was very focused on downloading data at the block group level, there's certainly a lot more functionality and types of ways of searching on data.census.gov. We have a collection of educational materials and resources for you in the variety of formats, so recorded webinars, short videos, one-pagers, FAQs. Just visit the link. In addition, we have a webinar coming tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time where you can learn about the latest updates to the site. With that, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to Jewel and give you more time for questions.
Thank you, Tyson. As we're wrapping up with the webinar, we have a few more minutes for questions, and we can take some. Operator, do we have any that are already queued up?
I'm showing no questions queued up at this time, but that is star followed by 1.
All right, well, while we wait, we want to make sure that you know about our information resources across the country. We have a network of data specialists who can arrange free trainings or provide data assistance. Members of the media may contact our public information office at pio@census.gov, or you can call us at 301-763-3030 for more information. Non-media may use the phone number or email address on the slide. We also have a network of state data centers in every state who can help you understand local census data, and Census Information Centers, a network of nonprofit national and community groups that help populations access data. You can find these on our website at census.gov/SDC. Operator, how are we doing on questions?
We have a question from Steve Straley, the Village of Daily Sun. Your line's open.
Hi, this is Steve again, and I got probably a couple questions for Tyson here. One is, you mentioned a map. Is there a way to go to a map and like select multiple block groups or census tracts and then get those, put those into a table? And that's one question. I have a separate other question.
Yes, that functionality is there so you can play around with it if you just go to the site and click on Maps, you have the option to change the geographic layer to either the census tract or the block group level and make selections. If you visit the resources that we included on the slide here, there's a one-page flyer that walks through that process. We'll also cover it in the webinar tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Okay, thank you. I will do that. And then the other question was, when I've used the data.census.gov downloads before, it gives you a choice to click whether you want the margin of error included in the downloaded table. But in the past, when I've done that and I asked about it, you would say, I don't want this, and I would get it anyway. We don't really care about it. So has that been addressed, do you know?
So the Census Bureau, we love the margin of error, so it probably is included like a little bonus for you. Think of it as a little gift from us.
Well, no, it does give the option to say, I only want the data, I don't want the margin of error. And you do that, and it used to be in the, unmentionable previous setup, that you would do that and you would only get the estimates, not the margin of error. Now if you do that, at least the last time I did it, which has been a few months admittedly, you get the margin of error also, and I just have to go through and strip that out.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything on the site on data.census.gov that allows you to select that you don't want the margin of error. We do get a lot of feedback that folks would like customizations to carry over, so that's a good example of something to email into us. That applies not only when speaking of margin of error, but in terms of customizing the view in general, and we're currently evaluating that feedback to improve the site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Jane Miller, WBAL-TV, Baltimore.
Hi, yeah, just to clarify on the embargo, when can we report on the material?
The embargo will be lifted at 12:01 a.m. EST, which is when you can send out your stories. Prior to that, you are not able to put your story on the wire or any Thursday. Yes, on Thursday, December 19th.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. If you have questions about our embargo policy, they are on census.gov in the newsroom.
Can I ask one quick follow-up?
Go ahead.
When are we to expect municipal population estimates?
For 2019?
Yes.
Those will be released in 2020, and that's separate from the American Community Survey.
Okay, and then will the material being released next week have any population estimates?
No,
general population estimates.
American Community Survey.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from Lisa Pierce, City of Riverside.
Yes, hello. Thank you for taking the question. I have kind of a two-tiered question. Referring back to your table that you were showing about the field number 1 that has the table number and field identifier number versus the alias that describes the meaning of the field, right? I have looked at some geodatabases in the past that had a nice crosswalk, so you could join your, you could do a data flip and join your fields with the English version of the code rather than the numeric code, so that non-census people can actually read what fields they want to be looking at. And so one of my questions relates to using your data for actually facilitating that. One of the, I think it was in 2015 or maybe even earlier, there was a geodatabase that contained a really nice metadata table that had the crosswalk between the GeoIDs and the aliases, which was really handy. And I wondered if you're familiar with that example. And then the second part of the question is, I know that ESRI has been consuming your ACS data for their data enrichment, and it's a very powerful way to access your data. And I'm wondering, what is the timing usually between when you guys create your new versions and when ESRI consumes the latest version for their data enrichment?
I'll answer the second part of your question. I think you're referring to Esri. So they're a third-party vendor who accesses our data, and we're not sure what their timeline would be for when they would release it. But it would be available to them next week, just like it would be available to anyone else.
So you don't coordinate with them on any facilitation of data sharing or anything with them?
Nope, they would just access the data like anyone else would in the public.
Okay.
And then in terms
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to jump in terms of part one, if we're ready to move on to that question. If you're asking what this B01001_001E means, the official label for that comes from the API. So you can see that pulls data for the total population, and then it moves on to the males, and then on to males under the age of 5. If you're looking for something that's formatted slightly differently, we do have multiple ways you can go about accessing the data offline that pulls the information in a different format. Some of those formats have a label that looks more clean as to how the data looks in terms of more having a table display on data.census.gov. And if you go through the steps how to export tables and copy paste cells, you may be interested in that information.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Operator, we have time. I'm sorry, we have time for one more question as it's already 3 o'clock. We'll take that and then we'll do a quick wrap up.
Thank you. Our next question is from Nate Sindwick, Warrior Centric Health. Your line's open.
Hey Tyson, this is Nate. Listen, what kind of work are you guys doing with the Bureau of Labor Statistics? One of the things, first of all, I love Census.gov, but I find the Bureau of Labor Statistics site kind of crazy to navigate. And I found it interesting that you were updating the SOCs and the NICs, and it seems like you guys have a better way to access data. What I'd like to do is contact you offline to ask you some specific questions, because I don't want to tie things up right now, because my questioning is a little bit longer than what you would have answer for. But short answer that I'm wanting is, what are you doing with Bureau of Labor Statistics and smoothing that out so that people can actually access things? I had to get online for an hour the other day with somebody just to figure out how to go through and get data, and it was just nuts. What are you guys doing to assimilate that across, different bureaus and so forth?
Sure, this is Tyson. So right now with data.census.gov, we're focusing on the information that we have here right at the Census Bureau. We're not actively working to include data sets outside of the Census Bureau on our site, but if you'd like to discuss this further, you can contact our Public Information Office, and they can get you connected with us.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on today's webinar. If you were unable to get your last questions answered, you can contact us by accessing the information on the screen. You can also connect with us by subscribing to our email alerts, where we share important information about our data releases, visiting our website at census.gov/ACS. Also, don't forget to source us in your articles so readers know that your stories are powered by ACS data. For members of the media, please check to make sure that your embargo password has not expired. The embargo data will be posted next Tuesday, December 17th. Additional information about the American Community Survey and this release can be found in our press kit. Please visit census.gov and click Latest News. Thank you again for joining us. This recording will be available on our website in a few days. Operator, we can go ahead and end the webinar.
And thank you. This does conclude today's conference call. You may disconnect your lines, and thank you for your participation.